Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Danita Simpson and you're watching Videzra's Creations. So you have learned all the stitches that you need to at least produce some type of production or piece. What am I trying to say? We can make something, okay? You've learned the chain stitch, you've learned the single crochet, and you've learned the double crochet. So today we're gonna create a beautiful piece. One of my followers or subscribers said that we could do a scarf, but we could do like multicolors, and I thought that would be a great way to also incorporate another lesson in terms of how to crochet and add different colors of thread. Now there are some yarns that you're gonna get that's already variegated, it's already combined, and so like a thread like this, once you crochet with it, it's gonna already give you that multicolored effect. But if you want to create like stripes like my model here, this is a bigger blotch of stripes, but if you wanted to do line by line stripes, then you can do different colors. So I feel like for this lesson I'm gonna do a scarf with many colors, but I'm going to show you how to add, start over, and all of that. So this is the inspiration. I think I'm gonna use these for the fringes of the scarf. So I'm going to do the multicolored scarf, and I have my pink yarn. This is the the yarn that I usually use, either the mainstay 100% acrylic yarn, or the Super Saver. And this is, does it say if it's acrylic? I think this is cotton yarn. So this one, my gosh, I'm not seeing it. But I have two in that. I think I have three of them as well. I want to see if this is cotton or if this is polyester. Once I get that information, I'll share it. Yeah, 100% acrylic yarn. So this is also acrylic. I have a few of them, guys, okay, because I was working on a dress. You remember that dress that I showed you? So I have a few of these threads. I think I'm just gonna keep it as is. So we're gonna use yellow, orange, green, pink, and then for the fringes, and I'll show you how to do that once we get to that, I'll use these for the fringes. All right, so get your needle, your yarns, and you have your scissors. Let's get into the masterpiece. Which color do we want to start off with? I feel like for this inspiration thread, I feel like green kind of stands out a little bit more. Orange kind of does, but I feel like with green, we can use that as our grounding color, because whatever we start with, so if this is the length or the width of the scarf, I'm going to start with whatever color I start with, I'm going to end with. So it's going to be like a kiss imitation. So because I have 4 colors, what I'm going to do is 4 colors, and then we are going to repeat the set of colors, but they would kiss. So if I start with, let's math it out. So we're going to start with green, and then I think I want to start with orange, pink, yellow. Do we want yellow in the middle? Yes, I feel like we want that. And then for the kiss, we're gonna flip this around. So we'll have another set of yellow in the middle, then pink, then orange, then green. You'll get it once I get there. So the point of saying all of that is that you have to map it out in your head to see what the piece, how you want it to look like. So because I know that I want green to be kind of the main color in this scenario, I'm going to start with my green. Always when you're doing crochet, start from the middle. So when you get a new yarn, like for instance, this is a new one, always look for the middle. See, they always have this, so you have to dig through. It's either gonna be on either side. So you wanna look for the middle one. And the reason why you're doing that is if you look for the end from the outside, the thread is going to be harder to guide. when you get it from the middle, once you're working, it will seamlessly guide through. Okay, so that's one way of another lesson of working with yarns. So I already used this green yarn, so it wasn't hard for me to find the middle. So now that I have the middle, I'm just gonna feed a few thread so that I can have some width. Now we need to talk about how long we want our scarf to be. So a tape measure is sometimes gonna be needed. For someone like me who kind of freestyle or freelances, I usually just measure off myself. But for accuracy and for teaching purposes, this is the length of a tape measure. It's 60 inches, right? So I feel like that is typically the length of a scarf, so we're going to use that for measurement purposes. So instead of telling you to do 120 chains, I'm going to tell you to do the length of 60. Now I can also tell you to do 120 or to do 200 chain stitch, but for purposes of you learning and being accurate, let's use your tape measure. So that's another tool that we need. All right, so do we remember how to start a chain? We're gonna get the end of our thread, put it between our index and thumb, and in these clips that are coming up, I'm going to be going a little bit fast. I'll repeat the steps, but because you've already learned, and if you haven't mastered it, feel free to go back to the first video that I showed you how to do the chain stitch, because then I won't have to, you know, keep repeating the steps. We can actually seamlessly work along. So again, to start a chain, thumb and index finger, feed it through the index and the middle finger, put your needle in, turn it all the way around, pull up through that loop. That creates your first chain, and then we're going to do a few chains. So while I do that, because we're going to be doing this in real time, I don't think I'm going to finish this scarf in this video, because I actually want to do the videos where we go ahead in real time. Like I could easily do a montage and show you how I started, show you a few pieces in between or processes in between, and then come to the finished product. But I actually want us to spend our Sunday afternoon working on a piece of crochet item or, you know, design. As time goes along, maybe we'll do it a little bit different for other intricate pieces, but for now I really want you to get the base of it. So this is all it is. That's how we work on creating our garment. We start off with our chain stitch and we just keep doing a few chains. I like to stretch mine once I get to a certain amount, just to make sure that it's kept straight and neat. The best thing about crochet pieces is to make sure that your pieces come out looking seamlessly perfect, you know, well made, and part of that is guiding it along. So you want to also always make sure your thumb is pulling the garment and keeping it flat. So how have you been? How was your week? Any good news, any sad news, anything you're working through? All I can do is leave you a word of encouragement that this too shall pass, whether good or bad. So bask in the moment, take lessons where you can, and just, you know, really give thanks for where you are right now. Okay, so this is our chain. I know we haven't, I would have originally be, you know, measuring it around my neck, but we're not going to do that. We're going to use our tape measure, but I can also already know that I am not where I want the length to be. So I just keep making my chains, and that is all we do. And if you're not sure, you can always just use your tape measure. Right now we're at 41, so we have about 20 more inches to go. And in my guesstimate, I'm thinking that's about 30 more chain stitch, maybe even 40. Because each chain is relatively small, so it doesn't make a whole inch. We're getting together. Get your tape measure, and you want to stretch it. We're at 53, 7 more inches to go. And if you realize my model, I changed her outfit today. This is just a two-piece that I made. It's good for the beach. It's also good for just resort wear. It's a short and pretty much a crop halter top. We might be where we're supposed to be. Let's do one more measure up. We're just literally at 60 inches. So for good measure, I'm gonna do just one more chain and turn into or double crochet. You guessed it. Because remember, I told you I like to do double crochet, and especially for a scarf, I would want to do double crochet so I have this width. So I will do that double crochet with the green before I change over into my other color. So again, we just want to loop around, and then we're going to skip one loop or one chain rather and go into the next chain to form our double crochet. And that is our first double crochet. So underneath into that very next chain, pull through two, pull through two, underneath into that chain, pull through two and pull through two, and there we have our double crochet forming. And we're going to just basically continue until we reach the end. And you see how I just pull the thread up. Sometimes because the thread is in the middle, especially if it's a newer thread, this one is moving very freely. But if you have a newer thread, it might be moving with you instead of just pulling the thread in the middle. So you may want to just pull a few thread length out so that you can get more to feed from. So this is really the exciting part about crocheting. You know, once you get colors involved, once you get a pattern and something in mind, this excites me about crochet because I know what I want to make, and it's just so much fun watching it come from my head or my vision or my pattern to reality. It's very satisfying. It's just like cooking a meal. You know, you get the raw ingredients, especially for persons who bake. I don't bake at all, but I cook, right? But for people who bake, can you imagine just putting flour and all those dry ingredients and your eggs and, you know, creating such a beautifully risen cake or dessert treat? It's really satisfying. And it's the same thing that I find with design. Same thing when we're doing pieces, you know, sewing. Like I said, I went to fashion design school or school for fashion designing. So I've made, you know, skirts and tops and dresses, and it all starts off with a piece of fabric, and you have that fabric, and before you even cut the fabric, you need to know what the design is. So either you're going to draft the design, or if it was already drafted and you have the design draft pieces or the pattern pieces, is that what it's called? It's been so long. The first thing you want to do is have that draft, have that design, so that you can map out how you're going. So you can cut your fabric, then you can stitch the pieces together to form something so beautifully. A lot of people enjoy fashion these days, and I don't know if they just enjoy dressing up or have they taken the time to consider, you know, how the pieces were put together. It takes time. It takes a beautiful creative mind to put it together. And so as a designer and as a crochet designer, that is my most fulfilling thing, to see the pieces just come alive together before my very eyes. Like, this was just a ball of thread, and we're going to make it into something beautiful that we can wear. Today I went to church, and they were talking about a drive. I missed part of the announcement, so I need to go on their website to see when I can drop it off. But basically they were asking for donations to bring either a hat, scarf, and glove. I think it's for their fall festival. So I feel like when we're done with this piece, I would like to donate it to that drive, and I think that would be for a good cause, and so it will make somebody really extremely happy and warm. And what better way to put your talent and to put your creativity to purpose? You know, this is not just about, you know, self-gratification. It's not just about making money even, but it's also about helping others. And this is where we are with our piece. As you realize, every time I do my double crochet, I'm making sure that it's straight, because if you don't, it can literally have a curved effect, and you don't want that. Your scarves are supposed to be pretty straight, and so we are continuing all the way to the end, and then I'll show you how to add another color. Once I add another color, that will be the end of today's video, and I will have you practice that. If you can work on it on your own for the week, that would be awesome. If I can, I will too. And then when we meet next week, then we'll be able to see our progress. Typically, a scarf will take me, if I work on it non-stop, I would say maybe 2 hours. Not very long, because it does go by quickly, especially because you're only using one stitch. You're just using the double crochet, and you just keep going, turning, and in this case, you know, adding color. If you were just gonna do one color, it may even go even quicker. But because we're adding colors, we'll have to stop, cut the thread, start the new thread, and then stop, cut, start a new thread. So it will become a little bit more intricate, and it will take a little bit more time, but nevertheless, we will still make a progress in no time because we are just using one stitch. I really hope you are seeing the way I'm doing this and positioning my finger. I think that's one of the best things to take a note of for your garment or your piece to come out seamlessly. Again, this is in real time, so you can see that it has only been a few minutes and we're almost through with one row. So really, this, if we stick to it, we can create beautiful scarves. Maybe we could create 5 scarves in one working day. Wouldn't that be amazing? For those who don't work full-time like myself. For me, who work full-time, I'd probably just create 1 scarf each night if I were to go into any sort of mass production, or if I got orders. But this is also one of those things that you can do while you're watching the TV. It's a perfect way, because sometimes we become couch potatoes and we aren't very productive. We're just watching people on TV or online, whatever we choose to watch. And while that is, you know, a bit of fun, we can also be productive by creating a piece while watching the TV. I think it's a really good use of time. When I started crochet as well, I usually, before I started driving and I was taking like the taxis to work, I would crochet while I was in the taxi. I mean, it would draw the attention of so many persons, but which would help me and my business at the time, but also it was a really great way of passing time. So instead of just being on the bus, you know, for some people who read, that's a great way of passing time as well when you're commuting. But for me, crocheting was great. So if you take the train, I don't think you can take the crochet needle on a plane, but I would love to be able to do that while traveling, because it would make the time go by so quickly. This is where we are. Again, I'm stretching it to make sure it's straight. We're almost done with this row, and then we're going to attach our other color. Now, the secret about attaching another color is to ensure that where you attach it, it doesn't leave a raw edge. And so what we're going to learn right now is how to intertwine the loose threads without having them showing, right? Because if it's showing a lot of loose threads, it's going to really take away from the quality of the product. So it is best to conceal it as much as you can to ensure that you're getting a high quality finish. So I'm going to show you first by concealing the end of this green thread, and then we're going to show you how to attach the other color thread. And the other color that we said we were going to go with is orange, and I'm excited to see a new color come into play. Now, if you're making this at home and you don't have these colors, feel free to match your own colors and drop a comment in the comment section about what colors you are using. Maybe you're using just one, and that's okay, but I want to know, what color are you using? And again, if you're doing the double crochet and you miss a loop, just, what if I missed here? All I do is just pull from there, join my needle here, and just pick it up again. Don't feel like because you made a mistake you have to go with the imperfection. It's okay, just pull it out and start over. Not all the way over, but just where you made that blunder, and you can start over from there. Coming down to the last few stitches. It's also important when you're doing the double crochet to make sure that you're going in the same loops, because if you are doing a double crochet and you're going to the top loop, but the next stitch you go into the bottom loop, it's also not going to show as neat. So you might have your piece and you're wondering, why doesn't it look like hers? Because you went to the top, then you went to the bottom, then you only picked up 2 of the yarns, or you didn't pick up enough. You have to be consistent. Consistency is key. And I'm going to just come a little bit closer as we get into the turning. Now you realize that this is a lot of thread. I'm going to leave it as it is. There's one more chain stitch that I need to get into. So I'm going to go ahead, loop that around, go into that final chain, but I'm going to put this hanging thread over to the right. Then I'm going to pull up my first 2 and then pull this in, right? And then I'm going to overlap this in so that this is intertwined, and then I'm going to do the final chain, because remember, we're changing color. Now if we're going to stick with the one color, we could just keep going and that would be perfectly seamlessly hidden. However, we have to do that. When you do that, you cut the thread here and pull this unwanted thread. Now we have 2 ends of the green. Before I even add my other color, I am going to weave those in, and all I'm doing is my needle and pulling the thread through these chains, and that's how I conceal these ends of the chain. All right, that's all. Then I'm going to get my other thread, get the thread from the middle, and then on that same wrong side, right, we're going to get this and we're going to put it on top of the piece. We're going to go into that end chain right here, right? So once we put it, we're putting the thread over here, we go into that last chain and we're going to pull up the thread through, and we do one chain, then we're doing our double crochet and we're pulling up. I'm going to do that one more time so you see. So to loose it, all we do is that we get our thread, put it on top here, we're going into the very last chain because we want it to be seamless, right? And we're pulling the thread up and we're creating 1, 2, and because this thread is a little thinner than the green, because you'll find that some of these yarns are more plush than others, so I'm going to do 3 instead, and then I'm going to do my double crochet. So a lot of it is ballparking, also using wisdom, creative wisdom, to decide on what you need to pull up more of or not so much of. So you see, once we're doing our double crochet, I'm ensuring that I'm intertwining the end of that orange thread so that it does not pop out. And so you'll see this is your double crochet with the other color, and we're going to continue. So I am going to leave off here while I do a few more chains for you to see. That is the end of today's video. I hope that you learned something again, and I hope that you were able to create something as well. And until next time, I thank you so much for watching, and please stay blessed.